Welcome back to another lesson. In this lesson, we're going to do something very simple. We're going to take a simple two-chord progression, and we're going to see in how many different ways we can stick a chord in the middle and still make it sound good. So you can think of this as a form of chord substitution or reharmonization. And the progression is going to be really the simplest possible progression you can think of, which is going to be the first root major chord on a scale to the fourth major back to the first. Basically, this is a C and an F. So here's a C major, and here's my F major, and I'm just going to play them. 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what we are going to do is we're going to see if we can precede the F by some chord in the middle between the C and the F and still make it sound good, or even make it sound better because it's going to be more interesting. And I'm going to just give you a few ideas or examples that you can use in your own playing. So let's get started. So one thing you can do is you can add the conjugate minor of F. So for any major chord, there is a conjugate minor, which is basically you take the root of the chord, which is in this case an F, and you go down 3 semitones, 1, 2, 3. And this, the D minor, to be exact, is the conjugate minor of the F major. And you can usually precede or sometimes substitute the major chord with or for its conjugate minor. Let me play it for you. Here's another idea. You can still precede the F with a D, but instead of a minor, let's try a major. That actually sounds good as well. Here's another idea. Let's try sticking an A minor in there. That also sounds good. Let me play it for you. Here's another idea. Let's put in an E there. So an E is the third degree of the scale and the third major degree of the scale. And it actually leads quite nicely into the fourth major. Let me try and convince you. Actually, a nicer variation sometimes of this would be not to use the third or the E major, but to use the third augmented. So instead of playing an E, play an E augmented, whereby you take the B, which is the fifth degree, and raise it by a semitone to a C. The nice thing about this is that you see now you can use this note C, which is shared among all of the chords, as a sort of common upper note. So C, E augmented, and F. So maybe you'd have something like This sort of trick was, I think it's very common with the Pixies in their early days. So definitely try and play around with it. If you think we're done, then we're not. Let's try a few more variations. Let's try sticking in a B flat major. So C, B flat, F. This gives it a bit more of a rocky / gospel-y feel. A similar chord that functions, again, similarly to a B flat major would be a C dominant 7th. So start it with a C, play a C dominant 7th, and then resolve to the F. You have a nice motion going there, which is, you have like the C, then you have this B flat note that appears, and then this A for the F, and you can use this as a bass. You can again use the same progression with the C dominant 7th in the middle, and again use or change the bass when you hit the C dominant 7th from C to E. Actually, this almost begs that you keep going with maybe say a D dominant 7 after the F. So again, this is not the topic of this lesson, but let me just play it so you can hear what it sounds like. Are we done? Actually not. There are plenty of other chords left, so let's see if we can stick some of them in there. Can we stick in an A flat? Actually, I think we can. It's not a conventional sound, but it can definitely work. So interesting, not very common, but I think still it has some kind of a film score feel to it. Same can be said maybe for an E flat major. Actually, this maybe is not exactly entirely film scorey. This also has sort of a funk feel to it. So C, E flat, to an F. So actually, what have we left out? There's the G, of course, with the 5th degree. That's almost too easy of a candidate. But let me just play it for you so you can see that it fits in there as well. So we basically stuck a lot of different chords in there. We had a D major and minor, an E flat major, and an E major. Oh, by the way, an E minor would fit in there as well. C, E minor, F, we stuck in a G major, an E flat, A flat major, an A minor, B flat. Are there any more? Actually, yes, we can keep going. Let's see if we can, what else can we stick in there? This lesson's actually becoming a bit too long for my taste, but let's try 2 or 3 more and then conclude. Let's try putting in something unexpected. Let's try putting in a B minor. So a B minor, or maybe a B minor 7th, or one of its variations. Here's a B minor, and it doesn't sound like it fits in there. Right? We have C, B minor, F. Maybe we just need to find the right inversion that shares enough common notes for this to sound good. And actually I think this works. Again, it's not a conventional sound. You won't find it in a top 40 hit, I think. But I think it still sounds nice. You can also explain this by noting that B minor is the minor conjugate of D major, and we've already seen that D major actually fits in. So it makes sense to try its conjugate minor, which is the B minor. Alright, so I think I've given you a lot of different options of chords that you can stick in between the 1st and 4th degree while you're playing a song. There are other options as well, which I urge you to try and find yourself. For example, we said that B flat major fits in there. So what about its complex conjugate minor, like G minor? Actually, that works as well. Actually, at least to me, it sounds like it fits in there. So I'm going to leave this up to you to try and find more options that can fit in between a C and an F, or more correctly, a root in the 4th major degree. And then I'm going to actually give you the additional challenge of just picking, like say, another progression or another set of 2 chords, like say root to 5th, and asking yourself what can precede the 2nd chord here and still make it sound good. So what can you stick in between, say, the root and the 5th, which in the case of G major is just C and G. And try to challenge yourself by just picking out 2 sets of chords within a progression and asking yourself, well, how can we stick in another chord in there and still make it sound good? That's it for now. I hope you've learned something interesting, or maybe a few interesting things, and I'll see you next time.